Hi there, it's Riikka Kovasin here with a set of ATC cards for A.B.Studio. I'm using a Christmas collection for these cards because Christmas collections aren't just for Christmas, but there's elements you can use throughout the year and especially on winter time. Here you can first see the collection. I'm going through the individual 12 by 12 sheets. I'm only using a couple of these for these cards. For the bases, I'm using A.B.Studio chipboard ATC bases and then covering them using one of the papers from the Simple Story Christmas collection. I'm using double-sided adhesive to add the layers together. The chipboard shape is a little bit smaller than the 2.5 by 3.5 inches, which is the ATC size, but I'm using scissors to kind of mask it. So I'm distressing the edge a little bit later to hide that the size is a little bit off in the bottom part. I'm also using the scissors to cut out the focal images from one of the 12 by 12 sheets. When I have those done, I'm then inking the edges. I'm using a green ink that goes well with the background and kind of going through all the items that I'm then layering on top a little bit later on. First, I'm adding a layer to the background using white embossing powder. I'm using one of A.B.Studio stamps, inking it with watermark ink and then pressing the stamp to the background and sprinkling white embossing powder on top. Then I'm heating the powder. I'm also kind of going through the edges a little bit to give them more of a frosty, snowy look. When I then have embossed or melted embossing powder, I'm adding a little bit of white acrylic to the cards. I'm using a sponge to dab the edges to make them even more frostier or snowy looking, and I'm using the same paint also to make some splashes on top. After that, I'm then drawing the cards so I can add the focal points in place. When I was drawing the focal images on top of the cards, they seemed a little bit like floating in the air, so they need something to ground the images to the cards. For that, I'm making a little patterned paper of my own by using red ink. So I smudged the ink pad onto the craft table, added a little bit of water, and then I'm pressing the cardstock to the ink puddle a couple of times, drying between the layers, so I get this kind of marbled, splodgy looking paper. I tear little pieces out of it and then attach them to the cards using double-sided tape. This then gives a nice little ground or table or whatever level for those images coming on top, kind of grounding them so they don't float around the picture plane anymore. I'm cutting the excess off from those strips and then distressing the edge so it's kind of matching with the overall look of the cards. After that, I'm then attaching the focal images using foam tape. When I have the big images in place, I then add the little finishing touches to them by adding holly leaves to each card and then using red stickers or kind of these half pearls to mimic the berries of the holly. As a last detail, I also add a little bit of twine around each card and then finish with a text sticker. And here they are, the ready cards. Some penguins craving for some warmth in the winter weather and an owl too. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please consider subscribing. Thank you. Bye.